tātou katoa.
The Honourable Maurice Williamson.
Mr Speaker, I think there can be no area of public policy where the difference between the left and the right is so exacerbated in that of the delivery of education. So from the left's point of view, the trade unions, the NZEI and the PPTA and that should have control of what goes on. There should be one model of delivery, and that's how all kids should learn. From the right of the political spectrum, where I come from, sir, we believe there should be quite a variation in the delivery mechanism. Sir, and we already have a huge variation even within the current system before chartered schools came along. If anyone in this room was believing that some of the expensive private schools deliver anything like the same as some of the poorer decile 10 rural and provincial schools of the kids, they're dreaming. And right across the range of the schools, even in my electorate, and I'm sure other members have got the same thing, there will be various public schools that have a different emphasis on what they deliver and how they deliver it. And when it comes to chartered schools, sir, it's quite clear that there is a very, very bottom of the heap cohort who were missing out altogether. These kids were actually never attending any school, and if they were failing miserably and probably being expelled or excluded from the school and so on. And so what I don't understand is why the left don't get behind at least a trial. Let's see if there can be a mechanism quite different to the current one, because the current one has failed these kids badly, or they have failed within it, whichever way you look at it. How about we look at a new mechanism and see if it works? Now, I actually like the idea of saying to a unit of people who want to bring some children into a new environment, have a go at this, let's see how it works. But the first thing I want to make is a question to the other side. Is any child compelled to attend a charter school? No. Okay? They're not, right? They don't have to. It's not compulsory. They choose to. Well, that's a phenomenal starting point already, because I believe in the inherent goodness of most parents to want to have a better outcome for their kids. And the second thing about these partnership schools is to say, let's see if they can deliver some outcomes. I actually think they will. I think they already have. I think they're performing well. And then we get all of the nonsense metrics about, oh, it's so much more expensive per child. Well, actually, there's a variation in the cost per child across the current state system at any rate. But actually, if you're setting up a brand new partnership school, there's all the capital costs of new buildings, of new property, and somewhere where you've got to house them. And so you're not comparing apples with apples when you only look at an existing school and you look at its per capita for funding just the operation of an already existing property. So then it comes down to Mr Goff's bill about let's have some forced rigidity that they must stick to this New Zealand curriculum. And I ask, why? Why would you not allow a charter school to say, we actually believe there is an alternative curriculum, an alternative way of learning, an alternative mechanism for schools at the bottom of the heap to learn, and we would like to try that. Now, it may work, it may not, and you might say, well, you shouldn't be experimenting with kids. But actually, sir, we've experimented with these kids for too long and they've got nowhere. If you think that all the children that are in partnership schools were going to do top of scholarship passing at every one of the best schools in the country, you're so wrong. This is a cohort of kids who we need to put some real energy and effort into it. And why would you want to put a restriction of you must have the same structure as the state schools and so on? And the same to you, Mr Speaker. Why would you want to do that? Because it just may be that a particular charter school or a partnership school has got a particular view of the world that it wants to deliver, and the parents can choose it voluntarily and want to go into it. Now, I understand that the current partnership schools have all pretty much stuck to the New Zealand curriculum, as I guess you'd expect as a starting point. But what sort of a parliament are we? What sort of a bill do we think we have to do till we go to the bottom end of the delivery mechanism to kids who are struggling to even stay within the schooling system and say to the deliverers of a chance of getting those kids, you're going to stick to the straitjacket of the state school, which didn't work for these kids anyway. And so this is an absolute ridiculous attempt to try and put an extra bit of straitjacket around these schools, rather than to allow them to have that flexibility, rather than to allow them to have that freedom, sir. I oppose the bill totally.